Last year's Temple Owls were not fantastic. In fact, they may have underperformed in a lot of different categories, especially defensively on the offensive line, but there were a lot of good things that came out of Temple's season last year and entering 2023. This is a team that a lot of people think is going to see some significant improvement in the new look American Athletic Conference this year. However, with that being said, with the new look conference, with the new teams, with everything going on, is this team going to be able to make a year two jump under Stan Drayton, or will this team need some more time in order to get back to the postseason? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel, previewing and predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer. Guys, that means I am doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. But hey, there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video. You guys can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. Really, anything that you are willing and able to do to help me support my channel would mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for the growth, support on the channel. It's been crazy what the channel has grown to this summer. I really do appreciate it a lot. Let's talk about Temple, though, in 2023. This is a very, very interesting and what should be very competitive football team this year for Stan Drayton and company. How do we do preview predictions around here? We go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Owl football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, I give you the Temple Owls in 2023. There are some very good options at quarterback here, one of them being Quincy Patterson, only 11 pass attempts last year. But no, the phenom last season was E.J. Warner, won the American Athletics Rookie of the Year, Newcomer of the Year. I forget what the American Athletic really calls it, but E.J. Warner, son of Kurt Warner, was fantastic last year. 3,028 yards on 60% completion percentage, 18 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Okay, I think he can definitely throw more touchdowns, can definitely cut back on that interception number as well. But all in all, E.J. Warner showed some great moments last season. He showed the making of what could be a truly great quarterback for the Temple Owls here in 2023, and he's got a lot of weapons returning around him, especially in the running back room. There were only 2 running backs that got over 100 yards of rushing production last season, and both of them returned to this team. That was Edward Sadie and Darvin Hubbard. Sadie was the leading rusher with 639 yards and 6 touchdowns. Hubbard, 206 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you also do get a transfer coming in to help boost up this running back room as well. That transfer coming over is E.J. Wilson, the former 3-star out of high school, coming over from FIU, or Florida International. When you take a look at the wide receiver room for this team, well, there are going to be some losses here, including your leading rusher, or excuse me, including your leading receiver. We've moved past rushing. We're on to receiving. Your leading receiver from last year was Jose Barbin, 918 yards, 2 touchdowns on 72 catches. This is going to be a significant loss for the Temple wide receiver group, as well as Adonicus Sanders, 437 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. However, Ahmad Anderson is coming back, 479 yards, 4 touchdowns last season. Also guys like Zay Baines, Ian Stewart, and a former quarterback switched over to wide receiver in DeJuan Mathis will play, as well as a transfer coming in. Former 3-star out of high school, Dante Wright, comes over from Colorado State to help give a boost to the wide receiver room. Yes, losing Barbin is a big deal, right? I don't know if it's going to be able to fill the whole 100%, but there's a lot of returning talent in that wide receiver room. On the tight end front, David Martin Robinson and Jordan Smith, your 4th and 5th leading receivers last year, both around 350 yards receiving, mix up 6 touchdowns between them, and you got yourself a pretty solid tight end duo here with the Temple Owls. And on the offensive line, couldn't really find any big losses, but Victor Stafel and Richard Rodriguez do return, as well as getting a transfer coming over, and Diego Barajas, who I think is going to be a really, really good offensive line player for them. So that was the offense. If E.J. Warner can improve on his game from where it was last year, and it's kind of hard to see him not to, maybe someone steps up as a true number 1 in the wide receiver room, I think this offense is going to be really good. Now, the offensive line does have to improve, yes, but getting Barajas in is a big deal from the transfer portal. When you take a look at the defensive side of things, what do we expect from Temple this year? Well, there is a big loss coming on the defensive line as Darian Varner is gone. 7.5 sacks, 35 tackles last year. The 7.5 sacks was 2nd on the team last season. You also lose guys like Zach Gill and Jalen Satchel there as well. Gill with 24 tackles last season, and Jalen Satchel last season. Kind of a depth piece, but 14 tackles, half a sack to his name last season. Jerquavian Mahone, Lancine Toure, and Demerick Morris are going to be some names returning on this defensive line, as well as getting some transfers coming into this program. Alan Hay and KJ Miles. KJ Miles coming over from Georgia Tech. And then Alan Hay coming into this program as well over from Miami. Both should be really solid pieces on the defensive line this year. And the linebacker position, well, you do lose Kobe Wilson, was your fourth leading tackler last year, 64 tackles, a sack and a half last season. He was a pretty solid player. However, there is a lot coming back in this linebacking unit. Jordan McGee, Evandy Rigby, Leighton Jordan, and Jacob Hollins were all, I believe, top 10 tacklers for this team last season. McGee led the way. Rigby was behind at second. You had Jordan right there at third, or excuse me, at fifth, reading the wrong line. And Jordan also had 9 sacks. Did Leighton Jordan on the season last year, which did lead this Temple defense. So you got a lot of good talent, not to mention DeJuan Black is transferring into this program as well. That's a former 4-star out of high school coming over from Florida. So, hey, some pretty good talent transferring in there with DeJuan Black to add to the talent that they already have here. And in the defensive back room, well, you're losing nobody notable that I could find. Everyone comes back in this defensive back room. Alex Odom, who was your third leading tackler last year, had 2 interceptions, as did Jordan as well. He's a really good player, both of those being pick sixes. Jalen McMurray, Elijah Darraville, Muheem McCargo, Dominic Hill, Elijah Clark, and some transfers coming in to help boost it up. 3-star transfer from Colorado State, Taiwan Francis, and you're also getting over Kamar Wilcoxon. Should be an extra A in there. I apologize for the typo, but another 4-star out of high school coming over from Florida. So you add in some really talented transfers. You get a lot coming back offensively, some good talent coming back defensively. Everything is pointing to Temple having a successful 2023. As your head coach is Stan Drayton, offensive coordinator Danny Langsdorf, and your defensive coordinator is Everett Withers, as we take a look at the Owls football schedule for 2023. Any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green, or that gets highlighted in green, is a game I think Temple is going to win easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, okay, the other team will put up a fight, but I think it's going to be a loss. Or excuse me, the other team's going to put up a fight. Maybe it's a close competitive game, but Temple comes out with a win, and red, of course, is the loss. So without further ado, let's predict Temple in 2023, shall we? Akron is the first game up for this Temple team. Does not project to be a very good team this year. It's a program that's been trying to build up to something over the past, maybe 2 decades that I've been living on this planet. And just in the college football world, Akron going to be sitting towards the bottom. That should be an easy win for the Temple Owls. Now, on the road at Rutgers presents its challenges this season. Rutgers, one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten Conference coming into 2023. However, there are some nice pieces there with Rutgers, offensively, defensively. They have some good talent, and while they have to fill some holes, I think Rutgers is going to be very competitive. I think they're going to want to get out to a hot start. I think they get out to a hot start in 2023. And Temple, maybe just trying to find some things that work here. I think they're going to drop what I project to be a very close, rough game on the road against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. But Temple should be able to bounce back and beat Norfolk State. That's a program out of the FCS ranks that I think Temple should easily be able to beat. And then you get another non-conference game against a Power 5 opponent, and I do not see you beating Miami this season. There's some new coordinators coming in there after their coordinator hires whiffed last season. Tyler Van Dyke is coming back. That's a huge get for Miami. There's a lot of talented transfers coming in, especially at wide receiver and on the defensive end as well. Miami, I think, has got a lot of talent this year. That's a team that should be much better than it was under Mario Cristobal last season. And Miami, I think, beats Temple. So Temple goes 2-2 through non-conference. Not bad at all, but I think a lot hinges on this game against Tulsa. I think this is what could be a season-defining game against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane right here. And you know what? I really, really like Temple this year. I think they're going to go on the road, weekday game, and they're going to beat the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Braylon Braxton is a very good talent at quarterback. So this is going to be a very interesting quarterback duel between Braxton and Warner. I do believe Warner to be the better of the bunch. I think his ceiling is a little bit higher, and I think there's more there's more questions answered on this Temple team than there is with Tulsa. Tulsa's got a new head coach coming in. They're trying to break in some new pieces here and there as well. I think Temple gets a huge win on the road at Tulsa that I think is going to start to propel them this season. However, when you take a look at what they have next, yes, it's a home game, but it's against UTSA, and I think you're going to end up dropping that game right there. UTSA is the team that I think is loaded with talent this season. Frank Harris is coming back at quarterback, and even though Zachary Franklin, a phenomenal talent at wide receiver, has gone off to Ole Miss, that's a team that still has a lot of talent in the wide receiver ranks. They got some really good talent defensively as well. No wonder they're one of the favorites to win this conference. UTSA going to be able to beat Temple there, as that is a road game for the Roadrunners, which drops Temple to 3-3, and I think you drop to 3-4 here with a loss to my apologies, with a loss to the North Texas Mean Green. I think that rushing attack for North Texas going to be able to run over this Temple defense that had a lot of struggles in every facet last season, and I think some of the physicality on that defense going to be able to break through the offensive line, going to make life rough for EJ Warner, and North Texas I see being able to get a win there against the Temple Owls. So you've lost 2 straight now for Temple, but look, I think things are going to get figured out. SMU is a team coming into Temple's home field that I think is very susceptible, at least when you take a look at how these two teams match up. SMU has got a lot of speed. They're going to be very fast. They're going to be very athletic. But I think Temple just pulls off a good old-fashioned upset here. I am predicting Temple to beat SMU. Yes, you heard me right. I think Temple's going to end up walking away with a win there in that game. Again, while SMU has a lot of speed, they're trying to replace Tanner Mordecai at quarterback, and all the options they have in that room, I don't think are going to be as talented as him. There are a couple other key contributors, such as that wide receiver whose name is escaping me right now. I apologize to my Mustang fans everywhere. Rashee Rice, just remembered it. They're going to be trying to find a number 1 option for him. There's some good talent on defense that leaves as well. And Temple, I think, is going to win. Temple has to win a couple of big games this year, maybe steal a couple games on the road, or steal a game at home that they're not supposed to. I think that's the one. I think they beat SMU, and they're going to ride their way to a win over Navy as well. While that's a team that I think is improving in the ranks of the American Athletic Conference, I do not think that they are going to be up to standard of the Temple Owls this season. That's a team with a new head coach, could be a new system for Navy. I think it's going to take time to adjust, and Temple wins that game. And I also think they beat South Florida for their 6th win this season, which means they are going bowling. And you even still got 2 games left. But South Florida is a team that I could see making a jump in American Athletic play this season. However, when I take a look at that team up and down, really a team that I just don't see competing with a lot of the talent in the American Athletic Conference this season, especially in the Temple Owls. So I think South Florida is going to go down to Temple, and Temple reaches bowl eligibility status, but you got 2 pretty difficult games to end out the season. I think they lose that road game to UAB. It is a UAB team this season that, while I'm not immediately buying the head coaching hire of Trent Dilfer, some of those coordinators he's brought in there as well, that's a team that still has some good talent. I think is going to fight, especially defensively. We know how physical they can play. They're trying to replace some good talent, but Temple, I think, is going to go on the road, play a really tough competitive game with UAB, but ultimately I do think that they drop that game, and I think they lose to Memphis there as well. Memphis is a team with Seth Hennigan at quarterback. There's a lot of talent surrounding him offensively, defensively. That's going to be a very sound Memphis team. That's a team that can compete for the American Athletic title this season, and I don't think Temple is going to be able to win that game there. So all in all, hey, pretty solid season, though, for Stan Drayton and company. I see him at 6-6. If EJ Warner can keep improving his game and this defense and offensive line, those are the 2 key things, right? The defense has got to get better at keeping opponents out of the end zone. But I think EJ Warner is a phenomenal talent. There's a lot of talent offensively and defensively. Well, you got some good transfers coming in that could immediately help boost this defense. So I see 6-6. Let me know your thoughts on the Owls in the comment section below. And as always, play hard, but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video.